up, guys? This is Kevin Lindsay from the Opinionated Geeks, and I'm here. Cannot wait to do this review of Spider-Man Homecoming. Just went and saw this today, and I have to say it was a great film. It was a movie that I think is going to Hallmark July of 2017. It's probably the best big box office movie of the summer. You have Tom Holland, who is returning as Spider-Man, as Peter Parker, and then you have Michael Keaton playing the bad guy, playing Vulture, and you have sort of an ensemble cast. You have Ned Leeds, who is making his big screen debut as Spider-Man's best friend, and I thought he did an outstanding job. So without going into spoilers, because we're actually going to talk about this Thursday on the Opinionated Geeks podcast, because Tommy went and saw it today, Josh Stockett saw it last night, and Tim and Lauren and Autumn, they're going to see it tomorrow. So Thursday or Friday's edition of Opinionated Geeks, we're going to talk about this more thorough, and it probably has spoilers throughout it, but this one I'm going to keep it spoiler free and just kind of give you a breakdown of what I liked and what I didn't like, and I'm going to offer a parent's review of it. So let's get right into it. So far so good for the Spider-Man franchise, or the Spider-Man Homecoming I should say. Basically the start of their franchise with Spider-Man and Marvel. They've entered the partnership with Fox to use the Spider-Man character. We saw that happen in Captain America Civil War. So far, it's done $120 million, I believe is what it's projected to do in its debut weekend. Has a 93% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and 8.2% on IMDb. So it's getting rave reviews. I really enjoyed the movie. Me and Rachel went. We sat through it and enjoyed it. I came out of there. I love Holland's character and his rendition of Spider-Man, because I told Rachel this, with all of the other Spider-Man franchises, the guys were a little bit older. They seemed a little bit more mature, and Peter Parker, while he is mature, he's still kind of kiddie in the comics and in the old cartoons, and I kind of like that. So I enjoy Holland's character in this, that he's still having to navigate high school and being geeky and whatnot, and he's just kind of awkward, and I like that. So we get that throughout the movie. We don't have the origin story again, like they don't regurgitate him getting bit by the spider and all these things. Even though it is mentioned, just a small part in the movie, it is mentioned, but we don't see the origin story. We go right into what happened after the events of Civil War and all these things, and he's wanting to be a part of the Avengers and all these things. He has these big aspirations of wanting to be part of the Avengers, and Robert Downey Jr., who makes an appearance, Tony Stark, is in this movie, and Iron Man. He's kind of just setting him off to the side because he knows, Stark knows that he's young. So what I liked about this movie is what Marvel does. We've talked about it in the podcast. They set the bar with fleshing out characters, and I loved this. I love them being able to flesh out the Spider-Man character, showing that he's awkward, showing that he's still learning things, showing that he's just a kid. And that's where I have a con too, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I love the fact too that the villain, played by Michael Keaton, who blew it out of the park, perfectly honest, he blew it out of the park as Vulture. I like the fact that I almost felt sympathetic for him at times. Like I understood to a point where he was coming from, and I was like, you know, I kind of get why he's the villain, but I also understand why he's doing what he's doing, if that makes sense. So there was times that I felt sympathetic towards him, and then there was other times where I was like, okay, Spider-Man, punch his face. Like, I love that. I love that debate within my head, whether do I feel some sympathy for this guy, or do I want Spider-Man to like hang him from the rooftop by his feet? Like, I love that dynamic. So I absolutely love the fleshing of the characters and things. A few cons that I found that I didn't care for was the language. Marvel's beginning to push the barrier. with the language stuff. I saw it, I believe Age of Ultron and maybe Winter Soldier, and the movies, they're starting to push the language barrier a little bit more. Didn't hear a GD or an F-bomb in there, so I just want to say that if you're a parent, there is some language in there. They use the H word several times. They use the D word a few times. I'm not going to just go out and say it, but they do use that. Didn't count how many, but there is language in there. A few other things that I didn't like was what I referenced just a couple of minutes ago, was sometimes it seemed a little kiddish. Like sometimes it seemed like this is a little too teenagery, but at the same time, it wasn't enough to halt the movie. One other little thing was sometimes there was a little bit too much comedic role, maybe kind of in there, like a comedic value, like they were trying to push that just a little too much. But again, it's not enough to hamper the movie. It's not enough to say, oh, just get it over with. You know, it's nothing like that. The movie's a little over 2 hours, I believe, right offhand. I thought it flowed well. I thought it was, like I said, it all goes back to Marvel fleshing out their characters, having a good storyline, and this story of Spider-Man Homecoming, while it didn't go into, I want to say, push into the next Avengers movie, there were little references and there was little hints and little subtle things that kind of advance the story, and without revealing spoilers, gets you set up for the Infinity Wars. So I enjoyed it. Overall, my grade of Spider-Man Homecoming is an A. And with that said, I was literally just talking, sitting here with Rachel, and I like it better than the Thor movies. I like it better than maybe even the first Captain America movie and the Ant-Man movie. I like it better than that. But Iron Man, Winter Soldier, Civil War, the Avengers movies, they've set the bar so high that even though I give this an A rating, it's not in that upper echelon of movies. It's not a Civil War. It's not a Age of Ultron. It's not a first Avengers movie. It's not in that echelon, but it's right below it. If I were to give those other movies, I would give them an A+ rating without question. Spider-Man, you could give it an A or an A-, but it is definitely worth the watch. If someone was to say, hey, do you want to go see it again, I would probably go watch it again. It's just a good movie. So, with that said, make sure, I didn't do this with the Despicable Me 3 review. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe to this channel. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers. I'm going to try to keep this up with movie reviews as I go and see them, or if I catch them out on DVD. So with that said, go watch Spider-Man Homecoming. Go see Stan Lee's cameo. It's pretty cool. I like Stan Lee's cameo in this movie. With that said, see you later, guys.